Hello summoners and welcome back to Mobalytics, where today we have the patch 9.4 tier list Q&A video. Hey guys, wanted to shout out right before we started that we have an awesome giveaway celebrating 100,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel here at Mobalytics. We wanted to give back to the community and let you guys know that we're extremely thankful for it. We have 3 awesome things giving away. We have a statue from Riot from your favorite league champions from their unlocked store. We also have 1 year of Mobalytics premium subscription as well, and we have some RP. So all 3 of these items are super cool and a big part of our giveaway. So we just wanted to say thank you. We'll leave a link in the description down below and in the comments for where you can sign up and enter. Starting off this week is a question from YouTube from Rasta Phil saying, one big question I have about the bot lane tier list is the removal of most mages. Other than Heimerdinger and maybe Mordekaiser, AP bot lane carries aren't on your list anymore. We know that Cassiopeia did get nerfs a while back, but you did mention the new Conquer rune giving her much more viability in her roles. Veigar technically still outscales every single marksman, crit on hit, caster doesn't matter, and Vel'Koz is exceptionally good at having strong lane priority as well as good pressure at level 6. So actually the reason we started removing some of the mages from the bottom lane, even though you probably remember and you're talking about how several patches ago, maybe around let's say 8.20, so like towards the end of season 8, we were having a lot of mages in the bottom lane. Now, ever since then, crit and a traditional ADC marksman have been better, but that's not the only reason we've slowly removed these mages. The reason is because they just have such a low play rate and such a low pick rate, it kind of is hard to tell how good they are. I think we would definitely all agree that mages can work in the bottom lane. Absolutely they do. The only problem is that they just have such a low pick rate, it's hard to tell just how good they are. However, we would agree with you that things like Vel'Koz are good, Veigar is good, Cassiopeia and Mordekaiser, and we've included some of the best and the ones that we're more sure about because we've either played and tested them ourselves, but a lot of the champions that you're not seeing here are just because it's truly hard to tell how good they are. I would say that a lot of mages are still good though. Just as you said, Veigar is good, Cassiopeia, Vladimir is fine as well. So I would say if you are having success with these and you think that they're still good, it's not a problem at all. Just be mindful that more often than not, when you're using a tier list for climbing, or we want to make a tier list for climbing, it's hard to recommend things that we're just a little bit unsure on, especially if we've not played it ourselves too much. Next question this week is from Alessio Baroni saying Reksai 57% win rate, kinda S tier in my opinion. Yeah, so Reksai is a champion that sprung way up with the changes to Conquer, now has like the highest win rate in the game, and on Korea and on the Korean server is now like the most popular and best jungler in the game, and most likely will receive some kind of nerf or hotfix. Conqueror seems totally bonkers on this champion, and we probably should go ahead and move her up for sure. The thing about Reksai is that she's pretty tough to play until you're good at the game or you're a really good jungler like higher elo, but more or less Reksai is a great champion at the moment and we do recommend her for sure. I would say at most we would probably recommend her, like you said, either S tier or definitely A tier for sure. The only difference being that some other tank junglers, even though Reksai does have a crazy high win rate, it also is because of meta shifts as well. It's hard to tell if it's just because of the Conqueror or also a meta shift, so we would be slightly more hesitant to shoot her way up. Things like Sejuani have been solid for the past couple of patches. Things like, if you're going to play carry junglers, things like Kayn have been a bit more solid. Even Vi has had a decent win rate, actually pretty good win rate for the last several patches, but we don't rate her S tier because it's more often than not Vi players and Vi mains. But if Reksai continues to perform at a high level, we absolutely agree probably should be S tier. Our last question from YouTube this week is from Not So Popular Boy, said, wanted to ask where's Irelia? Noticed she wasn't on the list anymore. Did the changes to Conqueror hurt her that much? So definitely the Irelia direct nerfs were harsh, and then she also used the old Conqueror probably a lot better than she does this one, so honestly, we don't recommend her that much. It's true that if you play Irelia and know what you're doing, and if you're an Irelia main, guys like Irelia Carries You, or Wicked, or TF Blade, guys that definitely know how Irelia works, they will still make her look good and find success with her, but that's more often than not just because they're really good Irelia players. In the tier list for climbing, once again, it's just harder for us to say, yeah, we recommend Irelia over other fighters who are significantly outperforming her at the moment, and she's hard to play as well. It's hard to recommend Irelia over something like Renekton captain who's much easier to play and more consistently good, and is pretty good with the new Conqueror as well, if that makes sense. So we had a question this week from Instagram about Galio support. Any opinion on Galio support, or is he just for the competitive scene? Galio support is quite strong, but just like Shen support, it's not great in solo queue unless used at a high level or being played in high elo. The difference would be though that Galio support has a lot of utility that even Shen support may not have. Although Shen support does have the blocking mechanic and his ultimate, Galio might have even more. His taunt is really effective, he's really tanky with aftershock, his ultimate is a great tool for moving around the map and roaming just like a Shen ult. It's kind of similar to Shen actually if you really do think about it, and on top of that he has slightly more poke as well. If you do want to go slightly AP, you can do that, but more often than not we'll recommend just full tank, and Galio is actually a pretty good support, and you're seeing him a lot in competitive play at the moment and in Korea, but they're just finding a way to play Galio. Basically they decided that Galio mid sucks after the nerfs, but they still want to play Galio because of all that he offers. You see this a lot in competitive play with things like Gragas as well. Why is Gragas being played support? Why is Gragas a top laner, jungler, literally everything, you know, almost every single lane in competitive play except for ADC Gragas? And the reason you see him do that and the reason they do that is just because they want that kit. They want all that CC, they want the displacement, that sort of thing. Our last question from Instagram this time is coming from tutoni.jpg saying, where is my man Olaf? So if your name is Hoshinshin or other top laners and you've been playing a lot of Olaf, you may have noticed that he's pretty good with Conqueror. Seems like he does really well, and the reason for it is just because this Conqueror change is great for him, and of course he got a nice visual effect update on this patch as well, so it makes him feel more OP anyway. All joking aside, Olaf seems pretty good with Conqueror. Definitely was just something that we missed out on because our tier list comes out at the beginning of the cycle. It's just hard to predict every single champion who will do well, but absolutely, we totally agree. Olaf probably should be on the tier list somewhere. B or A tier for sure. Seems like a solid top laner, so we will throw him on for next patch for sure. And our last question this week, this is from the blog from Eric, said, what happened to Casson in the mid lane for low elo? I know he got nerfed and he hasn't felt as strong as when I play him, but I thought he'd still be at least B tier if not A tier. So Casson is a situational pick that got his laning phase hurt pretty badly by the armor nerfs, making it so that he can be very easily auto-attacked down and harassed by specific matchups. If you have to play him versus an AD mid laner such as Talon, Yasuo, or Zed, he will be bullied really hard. Therefore, we cannot recommend him in A tier for low elo, where people are more likely to get exposed for him having a weaker laning phase. In low elo, you absolutely are going to need to have a strong laning phase and have priority. In higher elo, while priority is still important and moving around with your jungler and making plays is also important, higher elo players are going to do a better job of picking him situationally into good matchups, things like Echo or things like Syndra, that sort of thing. Anyway guys, that is going to wrap it up for the Mobalytics patch 9.4 tier list Q&A video. If you have any more questions at all, please be sure to leave them in the comment section down below. I will do my best to continue to answer your questions about the tier list. We definitely owe it to you here at Mobalytics, bringing you the best tier list content. Anyway, thanks for watching and use the product at Mobalytics.